If this is your first time watching one of our stories, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and comment where you're watching from. Now, let's begin. Adanna was the kind of girl everyone on campus admired. Beautiful, confident, and from a wealthy family, she was the daughter of a famous businesswoman in Lagos. Her clothes were always neat, her perfume gentle, and her smile could light up a room. But deep down, she was lonely. Most people only wanted her because of her money, not her heart. Then she met Chuka, a quiet, poor scholarship student from Enugu, who always carried worn-out books in a nylon bag. He lived in the school hostel and sometimes skipped meals just to save money for printing assignments. Adanna noticed him one day sitting alone under a tree, reading with full focus. Something about his seriousness pulled her closer. She liked that he didn't chase her like others did. Their friendship started small, a hello here, a shared joke there, until it grew into something deeper. They began studying together, walking around campus after lectures, and sharing dreams. Adanna started doing little things for him, paying his tuition secretly, buying him food, and helping him look decent. For the first time in her life, she felt real love. But what she didn't know was that the same love she was building with care would one day be the very thing that broke her heart. Adanna and Chuka became one of the most talked about couples on campus. People couldn't understand how a rich girl like her could fall for a poor scholarship student. Some said she was wasting her time, others claimed Chuka was using her. But Adanna didn't care. She believed love was stronger than class or background. Whenever she was with him, she forgot about the noise around them. Chuka, on the other hand, felt like his life had changed overnight. He had never dated someone like Adanna before, someone who dressed well, spoke softly, and believed in his dreams. She encouraged him to work hard and promised to support him until he graduated. Slowly, he started depending on her for everything. She paid his rent, bought him clothes, and even gave him money to start a small online business. At first, he was grateful. But as time passed, he began to change. Pride started growing in his heart. He began to feel like he deserved everything coming his way. He stopped being the humble boy she met under the tree. He started hanging out with flashy students, wearing designer shoes she bought, and forgetting to text him back. Adanna noticed the change, but she ignored it. She thought it was just stress from school. What she didn't know was that her love and kindness were slowly creating the monster that would one day hurt her the most. As months passed, Adanna's love for Chuka grew deeper, but his heart was already drifting away. He started coming late to meet her, stopped answering her calls, and always had excuses about group meetings or extra classes. She tried to understand, but something inside her felt off. The same boy who once looked at her with gratitude now looked at her like a burden. One Friday evening, Adanna decided to surprise Chuka. She bought him food and went to his hostel. She had been calling him, but he didn't pick up. When she got there, his roommate told her he had gone to the department. Her heart told her to check for herself. Quietly, she walked down the corridor toward the engineering building. As she reached the back of the hall, she froze. There, behind the lecture room, was Chuka, laughing and holding another girl close. The same hands she used to hold were now touching someone else. The world around her went silent. The food pack dropped from her hands and scattered on the floor. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. The girl looked up and saw her, but Chuka didn't even turn immediately. When he finally did, guilt flashed across his face. But the damage was done. Without a word, Adanna walked away. Her eyes burned with tears, her heart breaking with every step. That night, she cried until her pillow was soaked. The same boy she helped fed, and loved had betrayed her completely. From that day, she made a promise. She would never love again. After that painful night, Adanna changed completely. She stopped dressing up for class like she used to. The cheerful smile everyone loved was gone. She stopped attending social events, ignored messages, and avoided Chuka whenever she saw him on campus. Her friends tried to cheer her up, but she had already closed her heart. To her, love was a lie. Chuka tried reaching out a few times, but she never responded. When he realized she was done with him, he moved on proudly, pretending he didn't care. But deep down, he missed her help, her attention, and the comfort she brought into his life. Still, his pride wouldn't let him apologize. Meanwhile, Adanna focused on her studies, using her pain as motivation. Months went by, and her mother noticed the change too. She asked if something was wrong, but Adanna just smiled and said, "I'm fine, Mama." She wasn't. She spent most nights alone, thinking about how easily love can turn into pain. But slowly, life began to move again. She started attending lectures, helping with campus charity events, and spending more time at the library, the one place she found peace. And it was there, between the quiet shelves and old books, that she met someone new. A young man with calm eyes, worn shoes, and a peaceful smile. His name was Kelechi. He wasn't rich, but there was something about him that felt different, something pure. Adanna didn't know it yet, but her heart was about to be tested again. Kelechi was nothing like Chuka. He was quiet but confident, poor but content. Everyone on campus knew him as the student who always fought for others. He lived in a small room behind the library and worked part-time at the school cafe just to pay his bills. But even with so little, he was always ready to help someone else. Adanna first noticed him when he volunteered to tutor a group of struggling students for free.
At first, she didn't talk to him much. She just watched from afar, drawn by his calm spirit. One evening, she saw him sitting under a tree near the library, helping a student with assignments even though it was getting dark. When the girl thanked him, he just smiled and said, "If we all lift each other a little, the world won't be so heavy." Those words stayed in Adanna's heart. A few days later, she gathered the courage to greet him properly. They talked briefly, and she learned that he was a final-year student studying political science. He told her about his dream to create opportunities for poor students like himself. His eyes lit up when he spoke about helping others. That passion reminded Adanna of who she used to be before heartbreak changed her. As their conversations grew, she found herself smiling again. Kelechi never flirted or tried to impress her. He simply listened, encouraged, and respected her silence. For the first time in months, Adanna felt peace instead of pain. But she was still afraid. Afraid to trust, afraid to love, afraid to lose again. Days turned into weeks, and Adanna and Kelechi began to grow closer. They often met in the evenings at the library garden where they talked about life, books, and dreams. Kelechi's voice was calm, his words simple but powerful. He never tried to act rich or pretend to be what he wasn't. His honesty was refreshing. One day, Adanna found him fixing broken chairs in a small classroom. He was sweating, his shirt soaked, but he still had a smile on his face. When she asked why he was doing it alone, he simply said, "I don't have much, but I can still make things better for others." That moment melted something inside her. She couldn't explain it, but she felt a kind of warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. Later that evening, she offered to buy him food as thanks for helping around campus. He laughed softly and said, "You don't have to, Adanna. Just promise me you'll never stop believing in people." His kindness confused her. How could someone with so little still give so much? That night, Adanna couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Kelechi, his smile, his words, his quiet strength. Something inside her wanted to care for him, but another part reminded her of the pain she went through with Chuka. Her heart was waking up again, but fear still held it prisoner. She didn't know it yet, but Kelechi was about to do something that would change everything she believed about love, kindness, and sacrifice. One hot afternoon, the news spread across campus that a student had collapsed during exams. Everyone rushed toward the health center. Adanna was there too, standing among the crowd. The student was a young boy from the first year who had been battling a heart condition. The doctors said he needed urgent surgery, but his parents couldn't afford it. The entire school was quiet. No one knew what to do. Later that day, Kelechi organized a small meeting under the big mango tree behind the cafeteria. He called on students to donate anything they could, even small amounts. "If each of us gives a little," he said, "we can give this boy another chance to live." Some people dropped small notes. Others promised to share the message. But the money raised was still not enough. Then something unexpected happened. Kelechi opened his small wallet and brought out a brown envelope. "This is everything I have," he said softly. "I was saving it to pay my rent, but he needs it more than I do." Everyone was shocked. Adanna stood there frozen, watching him hand over his last savings without hesitation. The same boy who could barely afford food was giving up everything for someone else. That night, Adanna cried again, but not from pain this time. Her heart felt something pure, something honest. Kelechi had no reason to help that boy, but he did it anyway. It was in that moment she realized that true love doesn't always come with words or promises. Sometimes it comes quietly through sacrifice. After that day, Adanna saw Kelechi differently. She couldn't stop thinking about what he did. While others moved on, she kept replaying that moment when he handed over his last savings without thinking twice. It made her realize that kindness still existed, that not every heart was selfish. She wanted to thank him, but more than that, she wanted to understand him. A few days later, she visited him in his small room behind the library. The room was tiny, with cracked walls and just one chair, but it felt peaceful. He was reading under the dim light of a small bulb when she knocked. He looked surprised to see her, but smiled warmly. "Adanna, you found my hiding place," he said. She laughed for the first time in months. They talked for hours about life, pain, and hope. When she asked why he helped people even when he had nothing, he said, "Because once someone believed in me when I had nothing. I promised myself I'd keep that light alive for others." Those words touched her deeply. Sitting there in that quiet room, she felt something inside her heart heal. As she left that evening, she realized she wasn't scared anymore. Kelechi had reminded her that love wasn't just romance, it was care, honesty, and sacrifice. For the first time since Chukwu broke her heart, Adanna smiled without forcing it. Maybe love hadn't died after all. Maybe it was just waiting to be found in the most unexpected place. Weeks passed, and Adanna and Kelechi grew close in a quiet, beautiful way. There were no fancy gifts or loud promises, only peace, trust, and honesty. He would walk her to class, help her with assignments, and sometimes they'd just sit under the tree behind the library watching the sunset. For the first time in her life, Adanna felt free, not because of money or status, but because someone finally saw her heart. One evening, she invited Kelechi to a charity event her mother was sponsoring on campus. At first, he refused, saying he didn't belong there, but she insisted. When he arrived wearing his only neat shirt, her mother noticed him. After hearing about what he did for the sick student, she was touched and publicly praised him for his kindness. Everyone clapped. For the first time, Adanna's mother saw her daughter smiling, not the rich girl smile, but the smile of someone who had finally found peace. Later that night, as they walked home, Adanna looked at Kelechi and said softly, "You helped me believe in love again." He smiled and replied, "I didn't give you love, Adanna. You already had it inside you. It just needed light to grow again." From that day, Adanna stopped living like the girl who was broken by betrayal. She began living as the woman who found healing through kindness. And as she walked through campus holding Kelechi's hand, people stared again, not because she was rich, but because they saw something rare, a love that money could never buy.